Yeah, no, yesterday was a difficult match. Of course, a match we wanted to win, but all right, we take the draw against an informed side. I mean, undefeated in 8 before we played them, so it's undefeated in 9 for Golden Arrows. Mandla Mnikazi is doing a very good job. There's clear playing profile in the team. It is a very difficult team to play against, and yeah, of course, I think we want to win the match. We played to win the match. We prepared to win the match. Of course, we are disappointed that we didn't win the match, but as people of process, we understand that it's 100 rand fine for Shuki. We understand that we are in the business of winning football matches, and when you have honest players who give their all and who try their level best, of course, then you take the result as a consequence of the match, but not necessarily as a true reflection of the desire, the commitment from the players, and yeah, we take the point and we move.
Any learnings from the game going to the Paris match?
It's a bit difficult to take out any learning outcomes, particularly because we're in the business end of the season at the moment. We know what's at stake. We are in a very difficult block, which is the 5th block in our process with regards to how we divide the matches. This block of 5 games we knew was always going to be very difficult. But the good thing is that we've done the hard part. The hard part is to accumulate points, to sit in a position where even when we go through a difficult moment, we are still okay, and we believe that we are still okay. We've got enough experience in the team. Mamelodi Sundowns has been here before. The players have the right amount of experience to be able to deal with this hardship, and we knew this was going to happen. It happens to everybody. Man City go through difficult moments. In fact, went through a very difficult moment at the beginning of the season. And then they caught a little bit of momentum. Liverpool, same. Real Madrid, same. Barcelona, same. So it happens. There's no perfect season. And we would be very naive to think that we sat in a position when we were 21 games unbeaten in the domestic league to think that we would have a perfect season. And because of the season being as difficult and as strange as it is, the difficulties that come along only prepare us to try to navigate our way through and get to the finish line as successful as possible, because that's the responsibility that we have as Mamelodi Sundowns.
All right, Coach, I think you've just touched on it shortly in terms of saying you guys have been here before, but most of the time for the last couple of seasons, you've always been chasers. You've always been chasing due to you guys, your commitments on the African continent, and now you guys are being chased. Do you think that's also playing in the minds of your players that, the experience is more of you guys chasing rather than being chased? Because I think you haven't won the last 4 matches. Is that affecting the players in any way, shape or form? Thank you.
Is it affecting the players? I would think so. I would be worried if it was not. I think we are in the space where we are, and as I said earlier to you, we have honest football players. And when you have honest football players, they're in touch with reality. Our players are not happy when they don't win. You could sense in the change room. I don't know which feeling was worse, losing to Chiefs or throwing yesterday post match in the change room, but you can always feel the disappointment from the players in relation to the results, and as you say, yeah, of course, the experience that we have is an experience where in the past, rightfully so, history dictates that we've been chasing, but I can assure you that the pressure of chasing is far worse than the pressure of being on top. And if I'm a coach, and you ask me now, which position would I like to be in? I'd like to be number one in the situation that we are in, because at this moment in time, we have our own destiny within our control. We are in control of our situation, and no one else, even the chasing pack. And of course, the chasing pack, there are teams that are doing well, gathering points, and of course, moving in the direction where they can still try to mount a title challenge. But at the end of the day, we represent Mamelodi Sundowns. We think only about Mamelodi Sundowns. And if Mamelodi Sundowns would choose a position at this point in time, at the business end of the season with 7 games to go, you ask yourself, would you want to be second, or would you want to be first? You would definitely want to be first, because you have a control of your destiny, and you control where you are at this point in time of the season, and where you can ultimately finish off, and everything is in our control. And that's the message that we try to send to the players, that everything at this moment in time is within our control, and we can still, fortunately, as I said, we've done the hardest part. The hardest part is put ourselves in a position where we can budget for 1 or 2 mishaps during the season and still be in a favorable position.
Like it's interesting to hear you say, and of course, yes, there's no perfect season, and every team goes through a slump. Whether they win a league, there's always that little bit of a slump, and it's really always just about how quickly they can pull out. And most of the time, the good team does pull out and does still win the league. It's just interesting. Yeah, you could probably argue your biggest challenges right now are AmaZulu, and they've probably had that slump already before the coach arrived, and maybe while he was arriving and trying to get things right. And now they're flying. And you may be entering, a draw and a loss by Sundown standards is a bit of a mini slump. Maybe we'll see if it becomes a slump. I think a lot of that is going to be mental. If that little bit of doubt creeps into the players' minds, that's where even a team that looks invincible can become fallible. Sundowns have clearly got everything. They've got the players, they've got the coaching staff, they've got everything else. They can certainly, they should win this league. But if that little bit of doubt creeps in, that's the only thing that could probably stop you. I don't know if you'd agree with that and how you stop that happening, because I know you're a coach who lives in the mental space a lot. Thanks, Coach.
Yeah, Mark, I would concur, because I think your statement, I'm not sure whether it's a question, but I think your statement comes with loads of experience of you being in the game, and you experiencing exactly what you've seen these things before. But the reality is, as I said to you, we are in control of the situation. We trust the players. We said to the players yesterday, they might not always trust us, because you know how players are when they're playing. They trust the coaches. When they don't play, they don't trust the coaches, and they are not happy with all the decisions that the coaches make. But they may not always trust us, but we have full confidence in our players, and we trust them, and the experience that they have in terms of winning things and succeeding. And success, of course, is the culture, is part of Mamelodi Sundowns. And when you are in a position like that, you know that you sit in a favorable position where you are in control. And when you are in control, you don't stress about anybody else. Our focus is on trying to make sure that we finish this block of games as best as we possibly can. It's not easy. We've got certain targets, and it's clear that with this block of games, we may not reach the targeted number of points. But we've done, as I said, we've done a very good job at the beginning, and we've banked a couple of points. And you bank these points at the beginning of the season, so that when a slight mishap happens, you are able to then go into your overdraft and still be okay, so we are in that position, and we are okay.
Okay. Morning, Coach, and also colleagues.
How are you?
No, strong, Coach. Coach, I'm looking at you're a team and technical team of processes, as you've said, and when I looked at the fixtures when you last played the CAF Champions League game, and I thought, okay, now here's Sundowns going to use this block of fixtures that they have to make sure that they deal with domestic issues. By the time you go back to the CAF Champions League, you've sorted out the domestic scene. Are you not concerned now that we're about to go back to the CAF Champions League, and domestically you have these smaller challenges? Or is it a case of, because you've got your season planner, you've seen that you just have the semifinals or you just have the quarterfinals to deal with, semifinals and possibly the final will come long after the local season has finished?
Yeah, the CAF Champions League, it's a very good question, Ravi, and the reality is, as you say, within the domestic schedule, you probably only have the quarterfinals of the Champions League disrupting that for us, which is 2 games home and away, and pending the draw, we will know the reality of how do we go about, in particular, trying to squeeze in the traveling. It gets a little bit complicated if we are to travel to Algeria, because there are no direct flights, but to Egypt we should be relatively okay. And if it is to remain in South Africa, then we should be even better in terms of the scheduling of the games and the other itinerary in relation to traveling. But yeah, of course, when you plan for the season, you plan the season in its entirety, knowing the number of competitions, the number of games. And that's why we put a situation where we've got so many very good players in the squad. And even when we were unbeaten, we spoke about staying focused, keeping our eyes on the prize, needing everybody, needing every single player within the team. And that is still the perspective. That is still our focus. Our focus is making sure that each and every single player is ready in any moment to be able to help the team. And this is why you have good players in a squad like Mamelodi Sundowns, and you have the depth in that sort of squad. So yeah, of course, we would have liked to try to move towards a direction where mathematically we are in a better position. But which other position would you want to have? I mean, we've moved into a space where we are 2 points away from reaching 50 points. And you know that in this league, 56, 57 points puts you in a position where you can ultimately look and say, how many more points do you really need? So we are not far off from the target, and that's the most important thing, is just to keep our eyes on the prize, focus on what we have to do, be strong in this moment, and allow the senior players, Dennis Onyango, Kennedy Muini, you've got Shompo, and these are players that might not necessarily be within the pitch, but their influence in the change room is extremely important. And we are quick to forget sometimes, particularly because of the number of records that we've broken this season, and particularly because of the unbeaten run and everyone speaking about being invincible. This was never our talk. This was never our focus within the squad. But because of so many very good results and so many very good milestones that we achieved this season, we are quick to forget that this is our first season as the leadership, the new leadership of the club, and of course, because we are new leadership and we are giving new technical direction, and slowly trying to change certain things even within the playing philosophy, because you can't do that overnight and fast track that process. Sometimes we are quick to forget that, and we are quick to forget that even at the beginning of the season, when all these new players came into the squad, we asked for patience. We asked for time to incorporate and allow the players to settle into the new environment. And the squad is 60% new this season. So part to that is understanding that this is a transitional season, but a transitional season with extremely extensive demands, where we come into every competition as defending champions because of last season's treble. So it's not always easy, but we mustn't be forgetful of the fact that we are still in transition. And if you look at a lot of the new players that we got into the team, maybe only Aubrey Mudiba came in with a trophy in his pocket and a gold medal in his pocket from last season. But everybody else comes from an environment where they didn't necessarily win anything, and they don't know what it takes to play with the pressure and the demand and the stress of winning trophies, and to settle into an environment that's got such hectic demands, that's got such a hectic schedule physically and even mentally is not easy. So and the players have done extremely well. Rasheen has done extremely well. Aubrey Mudiba, after a little bit of a slow start, has done extremely well. Mvala has made a huge contribution. Peter Shalulile has made a huge contribution. But we shouldn't forget, I mean, Romeo has made a big contribution, but we shouldn't forget that where these players come from and the environments and the background where they come from. And yeah, it's going to take time, like any other club situation and process, but we are more than happy with our progress.
I was just wondering, this upcoming match against Orlando Pirates, considering yesterday's draw, and given the fact that Pirates would have to now travel back to South Africa, do you remain wary of the Buccaneers? And how do you, I'm sure you will be searching for a victory as every team as well. How do you think that you could break down Orlando Pirates and get that 3 points? Thanks.
Yeah, Pirates are a very big club. I've got loads of respect, particularly because I worked at the organization. I know and still have very good relations with a lot of people at the club, including the chairman of the club, and it would be ill of me to come here and sit and not speak well of the club and the organization, particularly also because I have fond memories of my time there and huge appreciation for the opportunities that they gave me. Are we wary of the Buccaneers? Of course. It would be naive and very foolish of us to go into the game without humility and without respecting the fact that they are a good team with very, very good players. Huge admiration for the squad that they have. Not only because I had a little bit of an influence in what is there at the moment in terms of the personnel, because we were very extensive with our recruitment process and we tried to create a certain blueprint for the way of playing, for the profile of the Orlando Pirates player that is needed. And the recruitment allowed for Pirates to have really in this moment probably one of the best squads in the league. And you can go into Happy Jelle, even Tyson, the extensive experience he has in terms of winning things, competing for things, and challenging for trophies, and playing and captaining Bafana. Computer, Marco, top player, has had a very, very good season. In fact, probably his best season in the PSL, apart from maybe that very good season that he had at Chippa, but Paseka has been exceptional for Pirates. He's given them so much, I don't know what to call it, but the dynamism on the left channel because of his movement, His ability to play in tight areas allows them to be able to come out of pressure from the left-hand side and to develop dangerous situations through overlaps, underlaps, and his relationship with either Vincent Pule or Hotto or even sometimes Gaba is very strong and makes the left channel probably the most dangerous for Pirates. I watched them last night against Enyimba, and again Paseka was very good, and especially defensively in a very difficult match, and particularly in the second half where they were really under a lot of pressure. But the balance that they had with also a left-footed centre half with Mayela playing there allowed them to also develop the attacks, maybe not on the best of pitches, but yeah, good. A very difficult team. Ben Mutswara in midfield gives them very good defensive stability. Will be interesting what they do in the next match on Sunday, because the last time we played them, Ben was assigned for the first 10-15 minutes to sit on Rivaldo Kutsie. But they changed the plan, particularly when we started to be dominant, and even when we worked a little bit on how we advised Riva on how to get away from the man marking of Ben Mutswari playing as an NT10. And then you've got to look about how do you demark, in which areas of the pitch do you want to move Ben out of, because when someone man marks you, his position is in your favor. You control where the player goes, and if Ben is their best defensive midfielder, with probably, if you look at the profile of the other midfielders at Pirates, Ben probably gives them a little bit more defensive stability. And if he plays a little bit higher up the pitch, then you have control of how much coverage they have defensively, closer to their center halves. And we try to work on pulling Ben out into certain positions of the pitch where we could then find access to the half spaces in the midfield. And then of course then they brought Ben back to a deeper position and then pushed Fortune Makaringe back into a number 10. So Maestro's got very good offensive instincts, gives the team good energy, good legs, and good coverage of the pitch. And then you've got the qualities of Aguero, Mabasa, Piano, Figo. These are players that are very dangerous, and even Kabelo Dlamini comes in and always does the job for them. So we've got to be very careful. It's a good team with very good players, and players that have the ability to influence results. And yeah, good. A lot of respect for not just the club, the institution, but a lot of respect for the playing personnel at Pirates, and also because we know the ability that they have, and we know the quality that they possess, and when you've got that sort of quality, you know that you can influence results at any moment.
I'm just looking at Orlando Pirates' last 5 results here, particularly in the DSTV Premiership. They've won 3, drawn 1, and lost 1. And that sort of tells the story of a bit of an enigma in terms of how Pirates are this season. You just don't really know which Pirates side will pitch up to the pitch. Of course, they lost last night to Enyimba. How do you prepare for a team that isn't really as, sort of predictable as some of the results might show?
Yeah, the results might not be consistent, but the play has been quite consistent. Orlando Pirates are probably one of the most effective counter-attacking teams in the league. Very direct, and even when we did our post-match analysis after we beat them, you could still see the plan, and a transitional team that really relies extensively on the motor qualities of their offensive players, the mobility, the speed, the weapons that Hotto, Vini, you know that they give you possibilities to really hurt you on transition. And we know that, you know, contrary to many beliefs, I mean, you watch Man City versus PSG last night. PSG have all of the possession, all of it in the first half. They are dominant, they create, and they win the first half. And then Man City regains control of the game, scores the equalizer, has more dominance in possession. It gives them a bit more confidence. And then they go to because of the dominance on the ball, they go on to win the game. In South Africa, the more you're on the ball, the more dangerous your opponent is. It's quite different to the modern profile of football matches. Football matches in the top teams with the top leagues with huge demands for results indicate that you need control of the ball, you need control of the pitch and dominate the pitch, not just dominate the ball, but dominate the pitch. And in South Africa, it's a little bit different because the more you are in possession is the more dangerous you are. And this is the same case in point as when you play Golden Arrows. Golden Arrows take about 8 seconds to get into your final third. They've got incredible speed. They play with incredible verticality. And they can create a lot of problems for you. Chiefs, even if you look at the 2 goals that we conceded, same thing. You turn over possession, they are immediately in your box within 10 to 12 seconds. And the same with Pirates. The data shows that Pirates take 10 to 12 seconds to get into the final third and create possibilities. And that's where their big chances are. And even when we played them, that's where their big chances came from. So it then calls for other tactical elements to be able to control that phase of the game where you could possibly be in a lot of trouble. You've got to look after the ball. You've got to make sure that you've got a very good coverage of the pitch and that your rest defense is very good, because you've got to defend while you are in possession of the ball and not necessarily when the turnover occurs, because then you are already in trouble and you are reacting to teams that have incredible speed, incredible desire and conviction in their game, where they easily bypass the midfield. Pirates' goal was immediately a happy jealous situation. The ball was not covered. The ball went behind our defensive line. Mango took a shot. Gaba and Aguero scored, and that's Pirates for you. So it's the results might not be consistent. The results might give you a false impression, because the reality is Pirates are a team that has a clear playing profile and a clear way of doing things, and you've got to be very careful about making sure that you control their most dangerous aspect, which is their movement, their fluidity, their speed, particularly with their offensive players.
Yeah, just a double barrel question. Just an update, just maybe on the injury front, particularly with Peter. I think Coach Mangoba had said he possibly should be available for the Pirates game. And looking at the log standings, I mean, it looks like a two-horse race. It feels like a two-horse race. But in the context of Sunday's game, do you feel it's now sort of whittled down to just AmaZulu and the log leaders who are also the champions at the moment in Mamelodi Sundowns? Or is there a way you feel that the other teams could sneak in? Although the points gap suggests there would have to be quite an implosion from Mamelodi Sundowns' side for them to let the title slip.
I don't know. I think if I am at Orlando Pirates, I would say to myself that it would be nothing else but a disaster not to consider ourselves to be in the title race. And I would think the standards that they've set, the work that they've done, the recruitment that they've made, and the investment that has gone into the club this season, should suggest that they should be winning more games and should be putting more pressure. And knowing the club, I don't think they consider themselves out of the title race, because mathematically it's still very, very possible that they can still win the title, and that goes for SuperSport, that goes for Golden Arrows, and of course even AmaZulu. But I don't know what goes on in that space in their different clubs. I can only talk about Mamelodi Sundowns. And we said even at the beginning of the season, we said it even at the halfway mark of the season, that no championship is ever won in April, in January, in February, even when we were on a very good run. That the championship is won at the end of May, and that's our focus, to push towards a situation where we finish strong and we galvanize ourselves. Of course, we understand, accept the difficulty of the situation that we find ourselves in, but we focus only on our process, and the process of accumulating the right number of points to mathematically then put it to bed. Until that happens, we've got to give it our best and continue to do and believe in ourselves and believe in the work that we've put in, and move towards a very good direction, and that's for us our focus. We don't focus on anything that is happening behind us, because ours is to move forward and not backwards. And right, let the games continue. I think everybody knows what happens when Mamelodi Sundowns has their back towards the wall and is moving into a space where they see the end of the finish line. I think history suggests that we all know what the outcome is. Injury update. Yeah, unfortunately we've got a recovery day today, so there's not much training, but the reports we get from the medical department is that Peter completed a full training session yesterday. So let's see tomorrow when we report back for training and whether or not he's able to finish a proper tactical session without any form of discomfort. And so Peter, we will assess tomorrow. Gaston will still assess tomorrow. He missed the game with muscular complications, and Kennedy Mooney also. But let's see. We might have one or two other bruises after yesterday's very difficult match. Mkhulisi had a couple of situations. Kermit with a few cramps. But yeah, let's see. We'll assess a training, and the medical department will give us a directive.
Morning, coach. Morning, colleagues. Coach, my question is specifically on Upita Shalulile. Has he changed the way Sundowns plays football, particularly this season? How you approach games based on the work rate that he provides to the side? Thank you.
Is this in total?
There's no Fidel Castro. Fidel.
Oh, Fidel. Oh. Thanks, Fidel. Difficult question to answer without getting into too complex into the tactics. We have certain schemes. We have a certain tactical culture. We have a certain way of doing things. We have a certain way of dealing with the boxes. And when I say boxes, I mean our build-up process and our high press processes. We have certain ways of dealing with that. They alter based on two things, based on the opposition, because sometimes you play a Golden Arrows that is not consistently building from the back, but also tries to build from the back in certain moments, and then build with Zuke and Sibisi, and then there's different positioning of the fullbacks who take very aggressive offensive positions, and that calls for a little bit different high press scheme. Then you have maybe Kaizer Chiefs who don't necessarily build at all from the back. And then of course how you deal with the box on the opposite side is completely different to how you would deal with the box if you play AmaZulu, who consistently build from the back, and Veli is always looking for that first station pass to go to the center backs. That then speaks to how you would then approach your high press. Then again, if you play Orlando Pirates, at times they build from the back. The build-up of Pirates is completely different to when they have Happy Jele at left center back or an Innocent Mayela at left center back. The profile of the build-up is completely different if maybe they even have Nyawuza as left center half, because then the position of the central midfield, which is Ben Motsware, is one that comes into that half space as they push the fullback a little bit higher. And then you've got to deal with the central midfielder and the right-footed left center half. Then your build-up, their build-up is completely different, which then calls for a different high press. So the profile of the opposition and the schemes and the patterns of how they do certain things influences how we would go about our high press, because of course it's part of the tactical culture that we have. And then we press slightly different in different games. We depending on the profile of the players, depending on the schemes, whether the half space, whether the fullback is a little bit shallower, and different teams give you different profiles. And then, of course, the profile of the players that we use, we press slightly different when we have Gift. We press slightly different when we have Clement. We press slightly different when we played Gaston as a false nine. We pressed slightly differently. We press slightly different when we have Peter. And then, of course, we adapt to that. And when you're always adapting to the different schemes, you then, of course, then you need a little bit more cohesiveness, particularly with the high press, because it's got to be coordinated very well. Otherwise, you are in big trouble in relation to trying to open yourself up a little bit. So you've got to coordinate it right. It's got to be structured very well, and so that you can put the right traps in the right positions at the right people and target the right people. But the reality is, to answer your question, Peter is a very important part of our team, but we believe that even with the rest of the other players, whether we've got Clement, we've got Gift, we have enough in them to be able to still maintain the demand to do certain things. But of course, then that changes because of the personnel. So it's not necessarily only the personnel, but it is also the schemes and the profile of the opposition. And this is what makes opposition analysis so important for us.
Thank you very much. Greetings once again, Coach. I've been listening, to your questions, to your answers rather. Sorry about that. And you've spoken passionately about Mandla Ncingas as to what is done at Irish. You've spoken passionately about Amazulu as to how they build up. What is your report card in terms of Orlando Pirates? Let's just speak about the two head coaches. What is your report card on the two head coaches? That is Joseph Zimbabwe as well as Safatu Davids. I mean, you don't coach a Schalke if you're not a good coach. You don't coach Orlando Pirates if you're not a good coach. Certainly not. I mean, you should know better than that. Better than me. And in my little experience in football is that you're only as good as a coach, you're only as good as your players. So what is your report card as to the two Orlando Pirates coaches going forward? Thank you.
The good thing is that I'm not the good thing is that I am not the chairman of Orlando Pirates. I think that is a responsibility that goes to him, and sure, least I misinterpreted in answering that question. I think it's better for me to move myself slightly away from that. It's a nice question, but I think it's directed at the wrong person. Emotionally, I don't want to play. I don't want to play in that space. So you will excuse me for running away from answering that question.
So we'll go to
Sorry, Karabo.
No, it's okay. Thank you, though. Thank you for your efforts. Thank you, Coach.
Hey, tricky.
Yeah, it's a pressing trap, and easy.
Yeah, Coach, I've got a lot of questions, but I know Umhlali Ngapambili will not allow me to ask so many questions. Yeah, let's just make it two quick ones. The just to help us to build up to tomorrow's draw. It's a very interesting one, because obviously you can't play CRB, they come from your group.
Yeah.
And it makes you now that you have three choices. Maybe the obvious one would be MC Alger, but you'll really need a real luck of the draw. Otherwise, other than that, there's Ali or Chiefs. How do you look at this interesting draw, and what would what would be the ideal one for you? And just a quick one. I'm not sure if it has been asked before, because by the time you play Pirates on Sunday, Amazulu could be 2 points clear at the top. Psychologically, what would that do to your boys? Or again, we go with experience, because as Karabo had said earlier, this is a team that is used to hunting.
Yeah, look, V, I think for the Champions League, we were speaking even yesterday in relation to that. We anticipate an interesting draw. It's 3 possibilities against 3 very good teams. You don't get to the last 8 of these CAF competitions, particularly in a very abnormal season like we've had, without having some form of quality, and we've got to respect, and we will wait for the draw, and maybe then we are in a position to give a very conclusive assessment of the possibilities. But it's very interesting, and we wait to see what we get, and so that we are then able to give a little bit more. We are working already in that space to create the right sort of platform to give enough of that. And then in relation to your second question, yeah, look, I said to you, everything is within our control. At this moment in time, we sit in a position, and I'm extremely bullish about this, because we know who we are as Mamelodi Sundowns. We know that that 21 game unbeaten run didn't make us the best team in the world. 1 or 2 very bad results, and we can say that draw against Arrows is a bad result, because we want to win football matches. We are in that business here. We are not in the business of creating records and breaking records. We are in the business of winning football matches. And in that moment, we understand that 1 or 2 bad results does not make us the worst team in the world and the worst team in the country. Our profile as a club doesn't change. The profile of our players hasn't changed, and there should be no doubts about the quality that we have in our team. We've got very good players, very, very good players who are extremely competent and extremely hungry to be able to continue to rewrite history and dominate South African football. We've got a very strong technical team that works extremely hard and puts in the hours in trying to support the players with as much information about each and every single opponent, and to be in a position where we are part of the process with our team and with our players, and so that they can feel our contribution to them and to the squad, and feel that we give them as much support as they need. We have a very good, experienced backroom staff, the technical team, the management of the club, the board, extremely experienced, hardworking, and people that have been in this space before. So, yeah, as much as we were saying that one swallow doesn't make a summer, we understand that we are still a very good side, and apart from 1 or 2 very unfortunate results, we still trust in our players, particularly, as I said, because our players are extremely honest. They work hard, good integrity, and they give the best that they possibly can. And if we ever doubted that, then the answers should be on yesterday's match. The amount of running that was on the pitch, the amount of commitment and dedication, and you can't play golden arrows if you are not prepared to match their intensity, and that's what we did, and that's what allowed us to dominate the game. we may not have created a lot of very good opportunities, but in relation to effort, desire, commitment, and the invisible factors that contribute towards a result, we were there and we were in that space. So we've got no forms of worry or concern about who does what, who wins their games, and what could be the ultimate permutations after Sunday's match. We just focus it and take it one game at a time, and then the most important for us is our game against Orlando Pirates, and we can never play our game against Orlando Pirates thinking about Amazulu. It's not possible. We play matches and we don't play the occasion. And that's the most important thing. We've got a very difficult match against a very difficult opponent, and that's going to create a lot of problems for us. And we've just got to focus on that and leave the rest to the football gods, and that's it.